Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. I am Olubumi Ajiboye Agbola. Outstanding performance recorded across Osun State by Governor Adegboyega Oyetola remains the pedigree for his re-election for second term. Foremost and permanent traditional ruler, who is also the Owa Obokun of Ijesha land, Oba Adekunle Aromolaran, gave the indication while receiving the campaign team of Governor Adegboyega Oyetola in his palace. Governor's office correspondent Soya Onoride files in the detail.
Oyetola campaign train hit Ilesha West and Ilesha East local government areas of the state of Osun and graciously received by overwhelming numbers of party supporters right from the city gate, leading the governor and his entourage into the ancient town of Ilesha at the palace of Owa Obokun Adimula of Ijesha land, where he received the symbolic royal blessings. Governor Adegboyega Oyetola re-emphasized that the good work being witnessed across the state would quadruple in geometric proportion for the benefit of all if re-elected in the forthcoming gubernatorial election. Paramount ruler of Ijesha land, Oba Gabriel Adekunle Aromolaran, maintained that Governor Adegboyega Oyetola's impressive records speaks volumes on his capacity to deliver the good of the majority, adding that it would prove an effort in futility to compete with the outstanding performing governor in the forthcoming gubernatorial election.
We have the same mind. By God's grace.
Amen. Flanked by the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Kano State Governor, Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje, Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Sunday Dare, the National Secretary of the All Progressive Congress, Senator Yola Omishore, Governor Adegboyega Oyetola reassured the teeming crowd at the Palace Square that he would continue to strive towards ensuring overall welfare of the citizenry in terms of developmental transformations, quality education, improving health care, prompt payment of workers' salary, pensions, among other welfare packages if re-elected in the forthcoming gubernatorial election.
We've done well as a government, as a party, and you can see this for yourself. The massive turnout in Ilesha indicates the fact that here has gone. This is one of our very comfortable thrones. The king, the real father, is with us. The people here are with us. And I believe, by the grace of Almighty God, we are winning this election come 16th of July, 2022.
We have been working very hard to ensure victory. We are not taking anything for granted at all. For the fact that we are in government, we are in power at the federal, local and state, we do not relent our efforts campaigning. We are canvassing for votes, explaining why they must vote for APC and why they must continue. By God's grace, we are sure we shall win.
The state chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Prince Boyega Famodun, the Director General of Oyetola's Campaign Council, Senator Ajibola Bashir, as well as the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Honorable Timothy Oweye, implored the residents to vote wisely for the continuation of good governance under the leadership of Governor Adegboyega Oyetola. Dignitaries on the campaign train were the wife of the governor, Mrs. Kawhayat Oyetola, the Deputy Governor, Mr. Benedict Alabi, the wife of the Deputy Governor, Mrs. Oyefunke Alabi, former Deputy Governor, Mrs. Grace Titilayo Ponle, Secretary to the State Government, Prince Wole Oyebamiji, Chief of Staff to the Governor, Dr. Charles Akinola, Professor Isaac Adewole, members of the State Executive Council, members of the State House of Assembly, the leadership and members of the All Progressive Congress from across the state. From the Governor's Office, Soya Onoride reporting.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party in Ebonyi State has suspended the legal advisor of the party in the state, Modi Erebede, the Deputy Chairman, Ifeanyi Nworie, and the Publicity Secretary, Chika Nwoba, and the youth leader, Obinna Iteche. This was as the PDP led by Mr. Tochukwu Okorie also ordered for the immediate arrest of the chairman of a factional group in the party, Silas Ono, for allegedly and fraudulently diverting over 52 million naira from the party's account in connivance with a banker at a commercial bank in Abakaliki. The state party chairman Okorie said this during a press conference at the party secretariat located in Abakaliki, the state capital. Mr. Okorie explained that the evidence of the financial impropriety orchestrated by Silas Ono in connivance with one of the staff of the bank was available for further investigations. In the meantime, Kano State Ministry of Education has approved 10 days of Eid-il-Kabir Salah break for all public and private and primary and post-primary schools in the state. This was contained in a statement by the State Director of Information in the Ministry of Education, Alhaji Ali Yusuf, and a copy made available to pressmen in Kano. The statement then called on parents and guardians of pupils and students of schools should note that the break will be commenced today till 17th July this year. The ministry therefore directed that all SS3 students writing NECO, NAPTEP, and NIBAS examinations, as well as students on an exchange program from other states as GSS Gwazo and GGSS Shikara, are to remain in their respective schools. The ministry, however, warned that appropriate disciplinary action would be taken against defaulting students. Terrorists who kidnapped the AK-9 train passengers have reportedly threatened to start killing the remaining passengers in their captivity in 24 hours. According to reports, the terrorists made it known in an audio that went viral, in which a voice of one of the terrorists threatened to slaughter the victims because the government failed to seek for their release. Malam Tuku Mamu, who had earlier played the role of lead negotiator between the terrorists and the federal government before 11 hostages were rejected, confirmed to journalists that the audio was real. However, Tuku Mamu has formally announced his withdrawal from further interfacing between the two parties, blaming the federal government for his action. Also, in a statement, he noted that the recent attack on Kuje prison had vindicated his earlier advice to the authorities. Mamu, who is also the spokesman of Sheikh Gumi, remarked that the renewed threats by the terrorists were as a result of the failure of the federal government to meet up with their demands. And moving on to sport, Nigeria Super Falcons face a must-win game against a Botswana team, riding on a wave of success at the ongoing Morocco 2022 African Women's Nations Cup. It will be recorded that Nigeria lost its opening game 1-2 to South Africa, while Botswana were masterly in their 4-2 defeat of Burundi. The least Nigeria needs is a draw against the Mars, which would boost them to play for a win in the last group game against Burundi on Sunday. However, for 9-time African champions, nothing short of victory will assuage the feelings of their fans, who are still reeling from their underwhelming performance against Bayana last Monday. It was learned that the Super Falcons will be without the injured Asisat Oshoala, who hurt her nail in the game against South Africa. She has been ruled out of the game completely. Meanwhile, team captain Onome Ebi has appealed to Nigerians to continue supporting the team, saying the loss to South Africa is a wake-up call. While on the foreign scene, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, faced lawmakers' questions after two of the most senior figures in his government resigned. Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Health Secretary Sajid Javid both said they could no longer support the culture of scandal surrounding Johnson's tenure alongside over 30 members. It was gathered that the British Prime Minister faced interrogation from members of parliament after 2 of the most senior ministers in his cabinet stepped down after several days of shifting explanations from Downing Street about a sex scandal that involved a mid-ranking ally of Johnson. The Prime Minister is also under fire over his promotion of Junior Minister Chris Pincher to the role of Chief Whip, a key position that involves enforcing party discipline. Meanwhile, Johnson confirmed that the issue of sexual misconduct had been raised when Pincher was a junior minister in the Foreign Office and that he had been made aware of the allegations. Still on the foreign scene, hundreds of thousands of Hajj pilgrims began streaming out of Mecca today ahead of the highlight of the annual rites, which have attracted huge crowds despite the continuing pandemic and heat. Reports say many of the robed worshippers were making the journey on foot to Muna, 7 kilometers from Mecca's Grand Mosque, Islam's holiest site, where they circled the imposing black Kaaba at the start of the rituals. The crowds, capped at 1 million, including 850,000 from abroad, chosen by lottery, are the biggest at the Hajj since 2019 after 2 COVID-hit years, when only tens of thousands were allowed to take part. And that ends the media news on OSBC TV. It was edited by Babatunde Bolatitu. Join us at 3 for the state news. Good afternoon.
وناديناه أن
ẹ̀kásán ìròyìn ọjọ́ kan rí Kamil Abdulrahim lóníròyìn yín. Ọwọ́ ọbọ̀kun ilẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀ṣà ọba Adékúnlé Arómọláràn ti sọ pé àwọn àṣeyọrí tí gómìnà Adégbóyèga Oyètọ́lá ti ṣe káàkiri ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun ti tó ohun tó fi yẹ káwọn èèyàn ìpínlẹ̀ yìí ó tún fìbò gbé wọlé padà fún sáà kejì. Ọwọ́ ọbọ̀kun ilẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀ṣà fìdí èyí múlẹ̀ lásìkò tó ń gbàlejò ikọ̀ ìpolongo gómìnà Adégbóyèga Oyètọ́lá láàfin rẹ̀. Oníròyìn iléeṣẹ́ ìlọ́fíìsì gómìnà Sànyà Ọ̀nàrìndé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́ ìròyìn àtúpalẹ̀ ohun tó ń bọ̀ rí látẹnu Àbọ̀sẹ̀dé Àlóńgẹ.
Ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ ìwọ̀ oòrùn àti ìlà oòrùn Iléṣà níkọ̀ ìpolongo ìbò sáà kejì gómìnà Adégbóyèga Oyètọ́lá kàn sí níbi tómilẹ́gbẹ́ ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú All Progressives Congress àtàlátìlẹ́yìn ẹgbẹ́ náà ti gbà wọ́n tọwọ́ tẹsẹ̀ láàfin ọwá òbòkun àdìmúlà àtìlẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀ṣà níbi táwọn orí adé ti wúre fún un. Gómìnà Adégbóyèga Oyètọ́lá tún tẹnumọ́ pé àwọn iṣẹ́ tíjọba òun ń ṣe ní gbogbo kọ̀rọ̀kọ́ndù ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun yóò máa tẹ̀síwájú tó ń bá wọlé fún sáà kejì. Ọwá òbòkun àdìmúlà àtìlẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀ṣà ọba Gabriel Adékúnlé Arómọláràn wòye pé gómìnà Adégbóyèga Oyètọ́lá ti ṣe gudugudu méje yàyà mẹ́fà lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ìdàgbàsókè ìpínlẹ̀ yìí àtètò amáyédẹrùn fáwọn èèyàn ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun. Ó sì ṣe pàtàkì fáwọn olùdìbò láti tún dìbò fún lọ́jọ́ ìdìbò gómìnà táwọn wò lọ́ọ̀kan yìí kó lè máa báwọn iṣẹ́ sọgbàdẹ̀rọ̀ tó ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ yìí lọ. Gómìnà Adégbóyèga Oyètọ́lá tí ojúgbà rẹ̀ láti ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó Babájídé Sanwó-Olú àti Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje ti ṣe gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Kano tó fi mọ́ mínísítà fọ́rọ̀ ọ̀dọ́ àti eré ìdárayá ọ̀gbẹ́ni Sunday Dare pẹ̀lú akọ̀wé ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú onítẹ̀síwájú lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí sẹ́nitọ̀ Iyọlá Omiṣore wà pẹ̀lú rẹ̀ tó fi dá àwọn aráàlú lójú pé òun ò ní yibe nídìí ìpèsè ọ̀kan-ò-jọ̀kan ètò ìdẹ̀rùn fáwọn èèyàn ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun nípasẹ̀ àgbékalẹ̀ àwọn iṣẹ́ ìdàgbàsókè lóníranran, ètò ẹ̀kọ́ tó yè kooro, ètò ìlera tí ò láfiwé, sísan owó oṣù àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ àti tàwọn òṣìṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì lásìkò tó yẹ àtàwọn ètò amáyédẹrùn míì táwọn aráàlú bá dìbò yan òun lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí i. Alága ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú All Progressives Congress nípínlẹ̀ yìí, ọmọọba Gbóyèga Fámọdún, olùdarí àgbà ikọ̀ ìpolongo ìbò Oyètọ́lá, sẹ́nitọ́ Àjíbọ́lá Bàṣírù àti abẹnugan ilé aṣòfin ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun, ọ̀nàrẹ́bù Timothy Owóẹ̀yẹ rọ àwọn èèyàn ìpínlẹ̀ yìí láti dìbò fún gómìnà Adégbóyèga Oyètọ́lá kí ìṣèjọba rere tó ń darí lè máa tẹ̀síwájú. Àwọn tó bá gómìnà Oyètọ́lá kọ́wọ̀ọ́rìn ní ìyàwó rẹ̀ arábìnrin Kàfáyàt Oyètọ́lá, ìgbákejì gómìnà ọ̀gbẹ́ni Benedict Alábí àtaya rẹ̀ arábìnrin Oyèfúnkẹ́ Alábí, ìgbákejì gómìnà nígbà kan rí arábìnrin Títílá Oyèpọ́nlé, akọ̀wé ìjọba ọmọọba Wọlé Oyèbáméjì, olórí àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ lọ́fíìsì gómìnà ọ̀mọ̀wé Charles Akínọlá, ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Isaac Adéwọlé, àwọn ọmọ ìgbìmọ̀ aláṣẹ ìjọba, àwọn aṣòfin, àwọn adarí ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú olóṣùṣù ọwọ̀ àtàwọn ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ wọn yíká ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun. Àbọ̀sẹ̀dé Alóńgẹ́ fún iléeṣẹ́ OSBC.
ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú People's Democratic Party nípínlẹ̀ Ebonyi ti sọ pé kí olùdámọ̀ràn fún ọ̀rọ̀ òfin nínú ẹgbẹ́ náà Modis Erebede, igbákejì alága Ifeanyi Nwore, akọ̀wé ètò ìpolongo Chika Nwoba àti adarí àwọn ọ̀dọ́ Obinna Itesio lọ́rọ̀ kúnilé. Bákan náà ni ikọ̀ tí alága ẹgbẹ́ ọ̀hún Tochukwu Okorie ń darí pàṣẹ pé kí wọ́n fi kélé òfin gbé alága igun kan nínú ẹgbẹ́ náà Silas Onu fẹ̀sùn pé ó lẹ̀dí àpò pọ̀ pẹ̀lú bó ṣe jí owó tó tó mílíọ̀nù 52 tó jẹ́ ti ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú People's Democratic Party nípínlẹ̀ náà. Alága ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú PDP ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ebonyi Tochukwu Okorie sọ ìdí mímọ̀ níbi ìpàdé oníròyìn tó wáyé ní ilé ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú náà tó wà ní Abakaliki tí Solúlú ìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀hún. Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Okorie ṣàlàyé pé ẹ̀rí tó fẹsẹ̀ rinlẹ̀ wà pé Silas Onu gbọ̀nà ẹ̀rú gba owó tó lé ní mílíọ̀nù lọ́nà 50 náírà láti àsùnwọ̀n ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú náà pẹ̀lú ìfọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ ọ̀kan nínú òṣìṣẹ́ ilé ìfowópamọ́ kan. Àwọn jàǹdùkú tí wọ́n jí àwọn arìnrìn-àjò nínú ọkọ̀ ojú irin Kaduna s'Abuja gbé lọ lóṣù díẹ̀ sẹ́yìn tí ń dúnkùkù lájà pé àwọn yóò gbẹ̀mí lẹ́nu àwọn tó kù lákàtà wọn tíjọba bá kùnà láti ṣe ohun tí wọ́n fẹ́ láàrin wákàtí mélòó kan sákòókò yìí. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìròyìn ṣe fi yé ni àwọn onísùmọ̀mí náà lóṣù yìí di mímọ̀ nínú fọ́nrán kan tí wọ́n pín káàkiri tọ́kan nínú wọn sì fi forúkọ rẹ̀ ní iléeṣẹ́ lé àwọn yòókù ti pé àwọn èèyàn náà àwọn yóò kún wọn bí ẹran nítorí bíjọba ṣe kùnà láti dá àwọn tó mú nígbèkùn sílẹ̀. Malam Tukur Mamu tó ń darí ikọ̀ tó wà fún ìdúnàdúrà láàrin àwọn onísùnmọ̀mí àti ìjọba àpapọ̀ ló fìdí fọ́nrán náà múlẹ̀ fáwọn oníròyìn. Ẹ̀wẹ̀ Malam Tukur Mamu ti kọ́kọ́ kéde pé òun yóò jámi lórí àti kópa nídìí ìdúnàdúrà náà pẹ̀lú bó ṣe fojú láì fi wo ọwọ́ yẹpẹrẹ tíjọba àpapọ̀ fi mọ́rọ̀ àwọn onísùnmọ̀mí yìí pẹ̀lú àlàyé pé ikọ̀ tí wọ́n ṣe irú ìkọlù tí wọ́n ṣe sí ọgbà ẹ̀wọ̀n jẹ́ ara ẹ̀rí máa jẹ́mi ìṣó fún un lórí àmọ̀ràn tó ti gba ìjọba àpapọ̀ ṣáájú ètò náà. Màlàmúmi ti tún ṣe agbẹnusọ fún Sheikh Gumi wá jẹ́ kó di mímọ̀ pé bí kò onísùnmọ̀mí ṣe ń dúnkùkù lájà náà kò sẹ́yìn bíjọba àpapọ̀ ṣe kùnà láti ṣe ohun tí wọ́n fẹ́. Iléeṣẹ́ ètò ẹ̀kọ́ nípínlẹ̀ Kano ti fọwọ́ sí ìsinmi ọlọ́jọ́ 10 fáwọn ilé ẹ̀kọ́ alákọ̀ọ́bẹ̀rẹ̀ àti girama tó jẹ́ tìjọba àti taládàáni kí wọ́n lè gbádùn ọdún iléyá dọ́ba. Ìjẹ́nu àtẹ̀jáde kan tí olùdarí ètò ìròyìn níléeṣẹ́ náà Alhaji Aliyu Yusuf fi síta. Àtẹ̀jáde náà rọ àwọn òbí àti alágbàtọ́ láti mọ̀ pé ìsinmi náà tó gbéra sọ lónìí yóò wá sópin lọ́jọ́ 17 oṣù yìí. Àtẹ̀jáde náà wá pa láṣẹ fáwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ oníwèé 10 tó ń ṣe ìdánwò NECO, NAPTEP àtàwọn ìdánwò míì bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ pé kí wọ́n dúró sílẹ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ kó wa wọn. Iléeṣẹ́ náà wá ṣèkìlọ̀ pé èyíkéyìí akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tó bá ṣe tako àṣẹ yìí yóò dára rẹ̀ lẹ́bi. lórí ìròyìn ìdárayá ikọ̀ agbábọ́ọ̀lù Super Falcons yóò máa wákò pẹ̀lú ojúgbà rẹ̀ ní Botswana nínú ìdíje ife ẹ̀yẹ ilẹ̀ Áfíríkà àwọn obìnrin tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ ní Morocco tó sì ṣe pàtàkì fún ikọ̀ agbábọ́ọ̀lù Super Falcons láti jáwé sóbì nínú ìfẹsẹ̀wọnsẹ̀ ọ̀hún. àwọn rántí pé ikọ̀ agbábọ́ọ̀lù obìnrin náà bọ́rẹ́lẹ̀ nínú ìdíje àkọ́kọ́ rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú South Africa níbi tí ikọ̀ Banyana ti fún ikọ̀ agbábọ́ọ̀lù orílẹ̀-èdè yìí lámì ayò 2-1 nígbà tí Botswana náà fàgbà han Burundi pẹ̀lú